these are the notes for section 1.4, and the section is called An Introduction to Problem Solving. So take these notes along with me, and I will try to make sure and note when you should be writing something down and when you can just follow along. So this 5-step strategy, I want you guys to go ahead and write this. When we are solving problems, you kind of want to go through these 5 steps to solve any kind of word problem. Now, sometimes you're not going to be really necessarily thinking about each step as you do it, but you're really kind of doing these no matter what. So the first step that you're going to take is to familiarize yourself with the problem. So in some situations, like in a real life situation, this could mean that maybe you need to do some research. Maybe you need more information. Maybe you need to find some measurements. Maybe you need to ask people questions. Maybe you need to look things up online. Something like that. Familiarize yourself with the problem. That's step 1. And you guys feel free to pause this whenever you guys need some more time to write. Step 2 is that you need to translate the words into mathematical language. So a lot of times this means using an equation or something like that and substituting in some values. So after you familiarize yourself and translate the problem to mathematical language, you need to go ahead and carry out the mathematical manipulation. So this might mean solving an equation for a variable. It might just mean doing some calculations on a calculator. Your 4th step is to check your answer. So this can mean both plugging your answer back in to a formula, and it also means thinking about, does this answer even make sense? If they're asking you about the height of a building and you get -20, well, you know you probably did something wrong. And then your last step is to state your answer clearly. And in this section, I want you guys to use full, complete sentences to state your answer. If it's a test or something, I'll be sure to remind you to use a complete sentence. So those are the 5 steps that we're going to be using. I might refer to them somewhat throughout this. Pause this if you need to. Go to the next page. All right, so one example that we could be looking at here, and you do not need to write this problem down. You do not need to write this down. If I exercise twice per week and I eat 2,400 calories per day, will I lose weight? So if we're thinking about the strategies here, familiarize. You probably need some more information for this problem. You might need to know, well, how much do I weigh? How many calories do I need per day? How many calories does it take to lose a pound? How much am I exercising? Things like that. So that's a familiarizing step. Then if you have a formula or something for calories eaten or burned or something like that, there are some, maybe you learned them in health class, you would put all your numbers that you have into that. Then you would carry out your mathematical manipulation, check your answer. Okay, so your answer to this one would technically just be yes or no. And then state it clearly. So no, you will not lose weight because you're eating too many calories, something like that. So let's do an example that we're actually going to do here. We're actually going to carry out this example. So here's one, and go ahead and write this down. My boat travels 12 kilometers per hour in still water. How long will it take, whoops, that's this typo right there. How long will it take to cruise 25 kilometers upstream if the current is 3 kilometers per hour? Go ahead and write all that down. So familiarizing yourself with this problem, I don't know, maybe you would even draw a little picture of this. So we're going on a stream here, and we know that my boat can travel 12 kilometers per hour. But we know that the stream, there's a current pushing back at 3 kilometers per hour. And we know that we want to go a total of 25 kilometers. You don't have to do this, but I'm just saying this might be something helpful for familiarizing yourself. So our next step is we want to see what we know and what we don't know here. All right, so we know the distance we need to travel. We know how fast we're going. We know how fast the stream is. What we need to know is how long is it going to take us. We also might need to know an equation here. So this is an equation. I'm going to put a star next to it because you guys need to remember this equation. It's distance equals speed times time. Now, every time I've ever learned this, it says distance equals rate times time instead of speed. So it's kind of like dirt, D equals RT, dirt. But your book uses speed, so I guess we're going to use speed for now. We're not, maybe we're going to talk about some physics later and really talk about what we should use. So we'll say distance equals speed times time, and we want to memorize that. We should kind of already know it. So let's see what we can plug in here. I think we know our distance, right? We know our distance is 25 kilometers. That's how far we want to go. We also know our speed is 12 kilometers per hour, but there's a current working against us. So our speed, if there's ever a current or something working against you, you need to subtract that from your speed. So our speed is 12 kilometers per hour, but the current is working against us at 3 kilometers per hour. So our speed is actually 9 kilometers per hour. And our time is what we don't know. Okay, it said how long will it take? So we don't know the time, so I'm going to put a question mark there for now. So now let's go ahead and really translate this into mathematical language. And just so you know, as we're writing this, hopefully we're checking that all of those units are the same. So we're in kilometers and kilometers per hour every time, so we're good in terms of units right now. If one of those things had been in meters or miles, we would need to change our units a little bit. So let's translate this. Our distance is 25. We can go ahead and plug that in. We also know our speed is 9. And we don't know the time. So distance equals speed times time. I'm just going to write a t right now, 9t, because I'm not sure what my time is. So now this is an equation that you guys can solve. So now we're going to carry out this mathematical manipulation. We're trying to solve for t here. We can get that t on its own if we undo that multiplication and divide by 9 on each side. So we are left with t equals, if you divide that in a calculator, which it's fine to use a calculator in this section, 2.78. And since all of our time units have been in hours, we know it's going to be in hours. Now, I know this is something you guys aren't going to like, but I want you to write this answer in a complete sentence. So we would say it would take 2.78 hours. And if you wanted to convert that, that is 2 hours and 47 seconds. Because you just do 0.78 times 60 seconds in a minute. So it would take 2.78 hours or 2 hours and 47 seconds to travel upstream. That is my solution. All that writing. So pause it if you guys need to, otherwise we're going to do a couple more examples here. All right, here's our second example. Cheyenne pays $157.94 for a phone. That's a pretty good price for a phone now. If the price includes a 6% sales tax, what's the price of the phone itself? So we're saying that that $157.94, that already included the tax. Like that's what got charged to a credit card, $157.94. So we need to figure out what did that sales tag say for the phone, not including the sales tax. So what I want you guys, one thing to remember is that to find 6% of a number, and hopefully you already know this, means you just multiply by 0.06 or 6/100ths. That's how we find 6% of a number. So if we're going to translate this, let's start translating. We know that in the beginning, we had the phone price plus the 6% tax, and that gives us the total price. Let's start plugging in things we know. We don't know the phone price. That's our question here. Okay, so maybe instead of a question mark, we could refer to it as P. Okay, plus the 6% tax. Well, that means 6% of P, so that would be 0.06 P, because P is the same, it's still the price of the phone. So the price of the phone plus 0.06 times the price of the phone should give us that total price, which they already told us was, what was it, $157.94? Hopefully this is starting to look like an equation that we know how to solve. If we look on this side of our equal sign, we've got some like terms here. This P is really a 1P, so we have 1P plus 0.06P. Well, that's 1.06P, and it equals 157.94. Now, the only thing we have to do to get that P by itself is divide by 1.06 to undo that multiplication there. Divide by 1.06. Again, I understand that you're going to need a calculator here. So we are left with, if you use this on a calculator, P equals 149. Now, if you wanted to check your answer, this would be a really easy one to check. We would just want to take 149, which is P, the price of the phone, plus 149 times 0.06, and see if it equals what it should. So if you do 149 times 0.06, what that sales tax would actually be, the 6% sales tax, I believe you get $8.94 sales tax. Don't you hate thinking about how much you pay in sales tax? It's kind of a bummer. In the end, if you add those up, we should get that total that we started with, 157.94. So now when you state your answer, write a complete sentence for me. The price of the phone is $149, and that dollar sign counts as a unit on this one. Go ahead and pause it if you need some more time. Otherwise, I believe we're going to do one more example, and you guys will have some time to work. All right, here's our last example. The degree measures of the angles in a triangle are 3 consecutive integers. That means integers one right after the other, like 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6, 7. Find the measures of those 3 angles. So go ahead and write down that problem. You can pause it if you need to. All right, let's familiarize ourselves with this. I'm going to draw a picture. I hear triangle. I think I want to draw a picture. So I know these 3 angles in the triangle. One thing hopefully we remember is that they add up to 180, right? All the angles add up to 180. There's 3 angles in here. I don't know. You could try some things, see if they work. Maybe you could try like 40, 41, and 42. See if those work. I don't think those are quite big enough because 40 times 3 is only 120. So I don't think those will be quite big enough. So let's just say one of our numbers, well, let's go back to that 40, 41, 42. If some of those did work, if we called one of those x, since they're consecutive, the next one has to be called x plus 1. And then the one after that, we could call x plus 2. If there are 3 consecutive numbers, we know we could refer to them as x, x plus 1, and x plus 2. So we can refer to our 3 angles as those for right now. We don't know what they are, but we know they're consecutive. So whatever the first one is, the second one is 1 more than that, and the third one is 2 more than the original. We also know that the sum of the angles, like I said, is 180 degrees because we just know that, right? About a triangle. So now let's start translating this. We know that if we add up x, one of the angles, plus another one of the angles, x plus 1, plus the third angle, x plus 2, we should get 180. So all I did was put these three in an addition problem because we know they should all add up to 180. Now, I put the parentheses in there just to make sure it was clear that these are three things we're adding up, but there's no really distribution to do because there's just a 1 on the outside of these. So if you want to take out the parentheses, we could do that. X plus 1 plus x plus 2 equals 180. Well, now let's just start solving algebraically here. I've got an x plus another x. That's 3 x's. 1 and 2 combined to equal 3, and it equals 180. Now we're just down to a two-step algebraic equation that we need to solve. So here's our x. He wants to be all alone. We need to undo the addition or subtraction first. So we need to subtract 3 from each side first. And then we're left with 3x equals 177. 180 minus 3 is 177. And then all we have to do is divide by 3. And we are left with x equals, I think it's 59. Now, am I done? Think to yourself right now, is Mrs. Mears done with this problem? I don't think I am. Because I know x is 59, so if I scroll back up here, I know this angle is 59, but remember the question asks us for the measures of all three of the angles. So when we state our answer, we know it's going to be 59, and then 59 plus 1 is 60, and 59 plus 2 is 61. So here's how we would need to state our answer. The measures of the angles are 59, 60, and 61. And instead of writing degrees, I'm just going to put my degree symbol on each of those. That would be a complete answer. So always, always, always go back and check and make sure you're actually answering what the problem asked. All right, so that's it for notes. You guys can go ahead and work on any problems.